My guests this week on the Northeast podcast are dynamic duo and husband and wife team Paul and Lucy Hull. They're owners of the Geordie themed gift shop For the Love of the North. I sat down to talk with them all things arts, crafts and business. And here we are with Lucy and Paul, the owners and managers of For the Love of the North, a fantastic shop in Woodley Bay. It's my first time in, and I've got to say I'm super impressed with the whole place. Tell me how it came about. What was it that spurred you on to start up a? It's almost a. And what is the place? I guess it's a souvenir shop for the Northeast.
Yeah, it's very much Northeast based. Everything in here is the brainchild of a Northeast creative. So we're working with over 50 different people now. It's expanded to that, and it's Northeast gifts, cards, and prints. We've been on our journey with it for about 18 months so far. I'll let Paul take you to the beginnings.
We have, yes. Yeah, the journey started. I used to work for North Tyneside Council, and I used to run the tourist information centres there. But sadly, like many information centres up and down the country, the axe fell and the service was going to be cut. I knew from my experience of working in there, because I was there for 10 years, that there was a raft of great talent in the Northeast, artists, creatives, craftspeople, and they made their work with a real passion and flavour for the Northeast, and that people who bought those and people who were interested in it really wanted to have a piece of the Northeast in their home. So armed with that, and obviously looking to what we were going to do next, we came up with the idea of setting up a website for the Love of the North, which we launched on Valentine's Day 2017. I took my redundancy from the council, and in the meanwhile, from leaving the council, I took on a couple of part-time jobs. I worked at the wonderful Jam Jar Cinema in the heart of Whitley Bay, which is something that Lucy and I value greatly because it means a great deal to us, and also worked at Tynemouth Priory and Castle. And like I say, in tandem to that, we had the website, which really did take off, selling the Northeast gifts. But there were certain things that we couldn't post out via a website, and there was more things we wanted to explore. So this started us to think about a shop premises, and I'll let Lucy take over because things kind of escalated more quickly than what we anticipated.
Yeah, we had, when we initially talked about having a shop, we very much were 2017 will be the year of the website. 2018 we might start thinking about shop premises. That gives Paul time to get out of the council, acclimatise to that, etc. And then we were walking along and the shop premises was to let, and we both had a look at it and sort of peered through the window and were like, that's nice. And then we walked away and kind of, it didn't go away, did it?
No.
And we decided, okay, we're going to have a look in. And when we came in, we just really loved it. It's one of the oldest commercial premises in Whitley Bay, so it's got a real history to it. It's part of the old coaching inn. And it wasn't too big in terms of filling it with stock, having neither of us really worked in retail. You did some retailing with the tourist information.
Yes, yeah, but not to the extent privately.
So it wasn't too scarily big, and we just got a really good vibe from it. And so we met the landlady, Karen, here on the Whitley Bay Carnival Day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was May 2017, and the streets were heaving, and it was really, really busy, and it was, and we had a good chat to her and talked through some concerns and things, and decided, well, you know what, you only live once.
Yeah,
might as
give
well
it a go.
For it.
Yeah. And here we are today, really.
We took a punt, and we opened the shop here on the 5th of August 2017, and it's lovely to know that it's sort of become part of the Whitley Bay fabric of small independent shops.
Absolutely. And so obviously the website must have took off. How did that must have, from February launching the website to August, you must have seen something in there that you thought, right, well, people definitely want to purchase stuff about Whitley Bay, stuff about the Northeast. What was, did you see a unprecedented amount of commerce coming through the website that made you think?
We were thrilled we got orders.
Right,
We weren't
okay.
even sure when we launched on that we were going to get orders. The first order we got, we were like, oh my goodness,
okay.
we got an order.
Uh-huh.
But we had enough orders to convince us that actually there was something here that we felt that we were tapping into, and we were starting to be approached by a few different people whether we'd like to stock their work and things like that. We're still very much on the hunt at that point as well, wasn't it? It
very much so.
And yeah, I think we were just like, I was still very much full-time at work, deputy head teacher, so busy, but we thought, Paul didn't know, you were doing a couple of part-time jobs, but it was worth just having a go.
It
was
yeah.
what we decided.
Oh, clearly.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're
So-
only here once.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, I am assuming that with a website you're competing with every other website in the world, whereas when you've got a shop in the heart of the town that you're selling the produce for, it's a lot easier to get your brand out there and to get your name out there.
We were just blown away from the very beginning about the support and sort of the love for it that we've encountered. People were very complimentary about the shop and about the work that we're stocking, and people, I think there's that real sort of moment at the moment where people want to support local, and they're supporting local by shopping with us, but then they're supporting all of the local artists as well. So it's not just shopping here and just supporting a little local shop, but it's much more than that as well. And then obviously there's a Pride of the Northeast, which we haven't even talked about.
Of course,
yet.
So I guess, what is it about, do you think, in your customer base that makes people, who would you say are your kind of standard clientele? Do you get repeat customers, or is it, is it, you can imagine there's somebody's house that is just covered in Northeast art. I'm assuming if you've got regular customers, but is it? I guess the type of stuff that you stock is something that, like a lot of my friends who live in London would want a piece of the Northeast or a piece of Whitley Bay to bring there and design their house with. Is it that type of people that you see, or is it a lot of local Whitley Bay people who want that stuff in their house as well? Or?
It's a mixture. You get people, have a very loyal base of customers who live in Whitley Bay, amongst it in the surrounding areas, who obviously love what we do because it is supporting small and independent businesses. We are a small independent business ourselves, so they come in regularly. We have people who come in. I have a sort of core of lovely ladies who come into the shop, and they will come in every about 3 weeks, and they will buy like 6 greetings cards to send off to people for birthdays, and it's always cards of Northeast locations, and they know it's just offering something a bit different, not just a card with a twee picture on and an awful verse inside. It's
right.
And then you get people who love that they're maybe decorating the house and they want to have a new piece of artwork, and something relating to Whitley Bay because they love Whitley Bay so much. And then you get people who have relatives or friends who live either down south or overseas, and they'll say, oh, this tote bag I'm buying, it's going off to Canada.
Great.
This is going to America. Or they'll come in and say, oh, that print of David Bowie in the Newcastle United football shirt, that was going off to my sister who lives in Spain, and she loves David Bowie and she loves the Northeast. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's quite far-reaching core, but we love it that there are people who live in Whitley Bay who embrace the shop, and we're very, very grateful to that.
Yeah. And would you say you've timed it quite well in terms of when you started it, really? I suppose obviously Whitley Bay, as they say, is starting to be on the up, I suppose. You've got the Dome opening, you've got other shops doing quite well. I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a sign of the economy, I'm no economist myself, but a lot of these shops like Pound Stretcher are closing down. There's one, the Silver Link, that's closing down. This Pound Stretcher. Maybe we're at the end of now the Pound Stretcher era, and people are starting to buy not premium stuff again, really. And so the timing and on top of both of that stuff, I guess, works out well for you guys, I'm assuming.
I definitely agree. People like that there's a story behind a lot of the products. They like that we can tell them a little bit about the different artists, etc. Which, if you're going into Pound Stretcher, you don't have that. It's it's got its place. I'm not saying that, but it's offering something a little bit different. And definitely feel within Whitley Bay, there's a, even within the time since we've opened, there's a different vibe going on. We've got some great restaurants opening. There's some fab new bars in places that weren't even bars a few years ago. You know, you'll see that since coming back. So it feels like a good time to be opening in Whitley Bay. It's exciting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember from my time running tourist information centres. You know, I like I said, I did that for 10 years. And there was a period when, you know, Whitley Bay was sort of dominated. We used to do this thing called the weekly ring round, where we'd ring all the guest houses and B&Bs in Whitley Bay to see what group their capacity for the weekend. You know, if we had someone who wanted to book up, we knew that certain places were full. And it was all stag and hen groups who were coming to Whitley Bay, because that was the nature. It gravitated from being, you know, the family holiday resort to somewhere that was more of a sort of stag hen drinking all weekend.
Party town.
That now has gone away from the town, and it's very much like Lucy's saying, we've got some lovely micro pubs that have opened, you know, lovely new restaurants. You know, it's the likes of, you know, Papa Ganoush have come into Whitley Bay, and, you know, they're very selective about where they would go to. So for them, I think they saw the momentum as well, like an endorsement that Whitley Bay is on the up. Obviously the Dome has happened, you know, after seemingly an endless time. The Promenade's done, and, you know, I think we've really come in on a cusp of a wave in Whitley Bay, and it's back on the map.
Yeah. And I think definitely since I've been away and coming back, I've noticed a huge change. Your shop being one of the highlights of the change, I'd say, in Whitley Bay, especially in terms of the success story of how quickly you've went from opening in Whitley Bay to now you're in Stack in Newcastle. Yeah. Tell me about that journey from here to there.
Yeah, so if 2017 was meant to be the year of the website, and that obviously became the year of Whitley Bay shop. 2018 was meant to be consolidation and carry on with that and kind of get to know what we were doing a little bit. And then my sister-in-law contacted me and she said, have you seen the thing about Stack? And I was like, oh, what's Stack? No, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. And she's like, I think you and Paul would really like it, and I think it would suit for the Love of the North. And at that point we really had not talked even about going into Newcastle. Newcastle, as far as we were concerned, was unaffordable, really, for a shop. There's no way that we could do that.
For a small business, it was
It's big time.
It is. It's chains. It's not small independent businesses. And we sent away and we got some information about Stack. And Stack, for people that don't know, is basically shipping containers. So around the bottom half it's retail, and there's a bar in the middle, and then upstairs there's restaurants and bars and things there. And we were like, it's quite quirky, it's a bit different, it kind of suits us. We'll maybe have a fun on this and do that. And we signed up for half a shipping container, mainly I suppose partly to do with price and partly to do with, again, just this is us all finding what we're doing.
Giving it a go.
It was just a nice way to get in.
Cut our teeth.
It really was. And we made the decision that I was kind of coming on board more or less full time, and so walking away from my career as such.
Right.
I'm still 1 day a week at school, but more or less full time. And we opened in Stack on the 16th of August. And it's fab. And
so obviously, that's if anyone doesn't know, Stack is at the bottom of the high street. Is that
Northumberland Street.
Northumberland
Street. Where the old Odeon Cinema used to be. So it's a prime position.
Absolutely. Opposite Five Guys for any of the fatties like me out there.
Or the Tyneside Cinema on the other side.
But it is a prime, you know, for a small independent business like us, and all of the other small independents in Stack. To, you know, it's very surreal when you're in there, and, you know, I look out the window because our glass windows tend to be glass, but our windows look onto the bottom of Northumberland Street, and you go, blimey, where. You know, it's still a fledgling small independent business, and here we are in the centre of Newcastle. It's,
and has it been well received up there?
Yeah, it has, and it's actually really good as well because we're all starting off on the journey at the same time.
Right.
So all of the retailers, so it's like an L there, and it's building up a really nice community there. I think the general buzz is that people like Stack. It certainly has a nice atmosphere to it, and I think it combines the retail element quite well with having the independent restaurant bits up there and the bar area as well.
It's just offering some, what we say to people is, this Stack is offering something very different in the heart of Newcastle city centre. And, like any high street, you see the same chain shops, and, you can go to, there's no difference really. You could be in Newcastle, you could be in Cardiff, you could be in Manchester, and you've got the same shops.
H&M,
Debenhams,
And there's, again, nothing wrong with those shops. But it's great to have somewhere so central offering something a little bit different.
And homely, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. And also, again, tourist information was cut in Newcastle city centres, so there's nowhere to kind of get your little magnet thing and ask a bit about tourist information, etc. And we have a tourist information element here where we've got various leaflets and things, and one of the downsides of Stack was because it's so small we couldn't offer that. But we've talked to the people running it, and we're going to get something on the outside of the container so that we can provide that service as well, which is really exciting. And it's good. I think to provide, yes, okay, obviously the retail element is important as well, but we always thought For the Love of the North was a little bit more than just that.
It's bringing something, again, that service, people can come and find out about what's going on in Newcastle, but they can find out about the whole Northeast as a whole, and it's nice for visitors, and a hub for them to find out what we all offer in the wonderful Northeast.
Well, that's your bread and butter as well, I suppose, from tourist information aspect. So you bring it into the business if you can, of course.
And I always thought it was silly to not utilise the skills Paul has.
Absolutely,
because they're there, and like you say, you've been doing it for 10 years. You're very knowledgeable about it. When we send out web orders, one of the things we do is it's a brown paper package tied up with string, and it has a tourist tip on it. And you love doing the tourist tips for them. You're in your element.
They invariably involve food.
Right.
They involve, maybe a trip up the Northumberland coast, stop off at Amble, have a look around the harbour, visit its, quirky little independent shops, and then it cuts to the chase, and then it's to go for some, mouth-watering fish and chips.
Right. Always something like that, isn't it?
There's always food and a drink at the end of it.
So, so I guess you're spreading the message literally for the love of the North. On top of the business itself. Yeah. Fantastic. So we have Halloween and Christmas coming up. Is there any Halloween specific ideas that you've got going on, or any sort of Halloweeny merch? Halloween's not a big
Halloween is not a big thing particularly, is it? I mean,
I would get some turnips in, because obviously coming from the Northeast, all this stuff about carving pumpkins is
the old turnip carve. That's what my granny used to do.
I'm going to Tom Owens for a turnip.
We did have the bowl of sweets last year for any kids that came in dressed up and things, but of course it was school. This year it's in half term. Might get a few more
during the day.
Was it. But Christmas, oh my goodness, Christmas is...
Was it big last year?
Yeah.
It
was. Christmas
I guess it's gifty.
It's very gifty. People send overseas, and because we have the website, so we've got a lot of things like the tea towels, the tote bags that are very easy to post. And Christmas was when we thought, this is the point where maybe I could jump on board.
Right. Okay. So that was the big.
It was embraced.
And I know from working at Jamjar Cinema as well, Christmas is one of their saviours. It was in the first few years, but it's one of their biggest times as well. I wonder if I guess everyone's spending money at Christmas, so for businesses, especially small businesses, it's a big deal.
It's key.
It is. We went to this. I mean, it's funny the opportunities that you get, but we won tickets to the Congregation of Inspiration with Holly Tucker, who set up Not on the High Street, and we went down to London and went to this. It was, you'd call it a conference, but it still wasn't a conference. I mean, it started with a choir coming in, singing and stuff like that, so it was very different. But one of the things that she said was that in retail, you should be making 80% of your sales at Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like, wow, okay, that's that's wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, we didn't do that last year.
No.
So.
And that was because we're starting off, and
of course.
didn't have the order quantities, for stock. So certain things we ran out of, which are really popular. So it's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve. It'll be interesting to see whether we've got it just right this
You
year.
learned
or
it this
not.
year.
Yeah.
So you braced for this year, I
We're
suppose.
getting there.
But we've got certain Christmas cards. Show them the Geordie Santa one there. That's one of my favourite. That's
Have a
definitely
canny
something.
Christmas. Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
That's great.
They're fab. We've got a whole range from Santa, Angel.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
feel like I'm doing a promo.
No,
now,
no,
which
but
is
yeah.
not what I wanted, but
There's
yeah. And then we've got little decorations. So we've got magpies are proving really, really popular.
Right. Okay. I like that.
Yeah. We've got the Spanish city dancing ladies.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Right. That's cool.
That
was back.
Oh, I like that as well.
Yeah.
It's back open.
Ah.
So that
So that's really nice niche stuff that you'd only find in a shop like this.
that's what we wanted.
That's it. So you and these are still all, obviously these aren't used to designing, and these are local artists who you've got doing them.
Artists and creatives, yes.
They are. What's the thing that maybe has changed a little bit is we're now asking for things, aren't we?
Collaborating, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and sort of saying, or maybe suggesting rather than asking, but sort of saying with this, the dome's just come out. What do you think of some sort of decoration for that?
Okay.
And then that's what they've come up with, which is great. So it is interesting, and it's becoming more and more like that. And we commissioned, I don't know whether you've seen it at the back, but the St Mary's Lighthouse Harris Tweed original.
Lovely, yeah.
We've got another couple of original things that we're in the process of getting done, which
Okay,
is very
okay,
exciting.
exciting.
Wow, watch
so
this
so
space.
it's definitely building, and as our relationship builds with the different artists as well, it allows different possibilities, and as we see what works and what doesn't work, you know.
Yeah.
Whitley Bay's very Whitley Bay.
So you got 50 or so artists that you've got their work in,
which is
amazing.
which is a huge
Amazing.
thing, because I suppose from a creative, like you say, there's a lot of creative energy in Whitley Bay, and kind of one thing it's really hard to do as a creative is be able to monetize your work.
Yeah.
So we've got a space here in Whitley Bay, especially that, and in Newcastle now, where northeast artists can start to monetize their work. If it's a certain quality and of what is necessary for the shop that sells. But I'm walking around. This is my first time in today, and I'm walking around, and I'm just like, right, I want that. My mum would like that. My dad would like that. My friends would like that. I tell you, my friends down in London have a real big thing because I think people are proud of being Geordie, and there's like people want a little. These are all little niche things that, especially if they go around the country or around the world, no one else is going to have them.
No,
and they're really heartwarming little niche things. Like I look at those dancing ladies from the Dome, and I go, that's only a Whitley Bay artist would understand to make that, you know.
Yeah, and how iconic it is.
Nobody else would.
No one else
it's
would.
all.
It'd be a Tyne Bridge. It'd be something. Whereas this is very niche and very selective.
It's tailored to Whitley Bay.
And the people that get it really get
it.
Yeah, and appreciate it, don't they?
They do, very much so. Because there's a sense of pride, and people know that, you know, it's wonderful Whitley Bay, and they want to have a piece of it and shout out a bit and send it to people who, you know, used to live in Whitley Bay, or just send it to people who don't live in Whitley Bay, so they've got a little piece of it and celebrate how wonderful it is.
Well, that's it though. But my thing is, because I think, especially the video released last week or whatever, there is a pride here. Yeah. I don't know if it always was there, especially even 10 years ago. I don't know if everyone, even my generation, a lot of us, this was a town to get out of and go and find the real world. But now I've come back, and now a lot of my friends that I know who have left are always thriving to be like, right, well, I'll come back here in 5 years and I'll make it work. Yeah. And I think there's very little places you can go in the world that you can be born and always kind of strive to come back, even if you leave, you know.
Yeah,
and it stays with you. Being a Geordie or being from Newcastle, even the northeast stays with you wherever you go in the world.
It does.
I was talking about that on Instagram this morning, actually, because it's the 90th birthday of the Tyne Bridge opening today. Yeah. So we've done a post about it, and somebody had tagged us in their post as well about it. Right. And she was saying, you know, how much the northeast means, even though she's moved away. And I was like, I honestly think it gets in your soul. Once you might not have even originally been from the northeast, but it's the same with students that come up here and spend a few years up
Yeah.
here, and it gets into you. It does.
And they find a home there. A lot of students who find a home here,
I know,
don't they?
Oh, yeah,
and
they don't
want
want to go.
stay,
Yeah.
or they come back, and and I think one of the things that I really like about the shop is that we get to have these conversations with people,
Right.
and particularly, I suppose, the people that have moved away or whatever, and how much it means to them. And even yesterday we had somebody knocking on the door as we were closing, and she moved away to sort of Preston, and she was just desperate to come in and have a little look around and
Right.
see,
Yeah, she just wanted to have a piece of the northeast to take away.
She, she was in for sort of 10-15
Yeah,
minutes
yeah,
talking
but she
to us
wanted to
about
come
it,
and
and
see
she
the
just
shop.
wanted a little souvenir type thing.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to have those conversations
Yeah.
with people, and at the same time to have them with all the artists we work with. So I think we're in a very privileged position
Yeah,
that
we
we're
are.
getting to
We are,
talk
yeah,
on both
'cause it shows
sides
both
there.
sides.
Because there's pride from the people who are obviously making all of this and how much they love it, and then also the pride of the people that are buying it all as
Of
well.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a nice collaboration between the two, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you
It's lovely.
guys are in the middle of the love from both sides.
Yeah,
I know,
suppose.
yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
we're
say, I think we feel
feeling the
very,
love.
very
Yeah.
lucky.
Privileged in
yeah,
that way.
Yeah, it is.
Because this isn't something you could do, if you couldn't fake it. You couldn't say, like, actually, I really hate the northeast and I'd prefer to live in Wales.
Right.
You can't fake
You
it.
wouldn't set up this
Yeah.
show.
No,
You've got
you
to
really
have
wouldn't.
you've got to have a passion to it. It's like with every job nowadays. I think if your heart isn't in it, it's we love it, and that's why we do it. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't mean anything to you, and you're not really passionate about it, you're not going to make a success of it.
Absolutely. And so, in the future, if we're talking future, how are we now? Stacks opened within a year. Is there any more?
2019.
2019. What is that?
2019 is the year
It's
when
the
we
year
just
of Mulbeth.
no.
no, it's considered consolidation. I mean, this is
Consolidation.
what we say every year. It's the year of consolidation,
Yes, we
and
say-
then something happens.
we say
but at
something
the
comes in the
moment, at
mix.
this point in time, it's a year of consolidation,
Right.
and that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
However, if we're talking this time next year,
You never know. You never know.
because this is not where we plan to be
Right.
at all,
No,
and it's
no.
very exciting.
Yeah.
But
And,
yeah.
we kind of visit places and we look at, we go out on the train, you go into Northumberland, or, you just go places and you look and you see all of like new sort of creatives and new locations and you kind of think,
To get ideas.
and you think,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
real passion for it here as well. So,
A Bamborough.
it's,
An amble, like you said.
Yeah.
There
true.
is, and
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people who could work with us, and
Right.
yeah. I mean, we have got plans, but it's when Stack's only been open 7 weeks or something.
Right.
It's too soon
Yeah,
to
of
talk
course,
about
of course.
anything else.
There's a dream, though.
There's definitely
You've gotta have a
is.
dream.
You've
Yeah,
got to
of
have a
course.
dream. It's spreading the northeast love, definitely. But it's. I mean, it hasn't been easy opening Stack.
I can't imagine.
No.
With that, and there was a time when really sleep was just that's all we needed, and we're past that, and we're now we're employing a few people. We've got 8 people that we're working
Fantastic.
with, like directly, that employing and things. So things are beginning to get a little bit easier again. But then Christmas was about to hit, so
It is.
I
I know, yes, the onslaught of Christmas. But, it's something we fundamentally believe in. And you get people who talk to us and, people who say, running your own business, it must be dead easy. And, that's anyone who's sort of, watching this, will be nodding their head saying, no, it is, with us, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
It is absolutely all consuming.
Right.
It's, it's 7 days a week, there is no Monday to Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
There is no, 5:30 cut-off. We can be sat. We try to have an embargo on when we don't look at emails
Right.
and things, but we can be 9:30 at night and we're responding to
Still
things.
doing it.
First thing in the morning when you get up, it's your social media posts
Absolutely, yeah.
for the day, and it occupies just every single sort of waking moment a lot of the time. So it is hard work, but
You wouldn't have it any other way.
no, and I'm 1,000 times happier, and I feel and I'm sure Lucy will agree that I worked for the council, for North Tyneside Council, for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm had a happy time there, made a lot of nice friends, but by the end of it, God, I was just so institutionalized.
Right.
I was ready for something different.
Yeah.
So when the call came, I like to say, it was sad that the tourist information centres were going, but for me, it was the most liberating thing I could have been told,
right,
because it allowed us to do this, and I feel a much different, still Paul, but I feel more the person I was meant to be doing this than I ever did in the council.
And you'd absolutely suit the role by the looks of it. I like the pocket square and the tie. Just you down to a T. You're a creative guy.
I like being very much the as we both are. We are for the love of the North. And people like to see us. Obviously with opening Stack, we've been in Newcastle quite a bit.
Right.
We haven't abandoned Whitley Bay. We live in Whitley Bay. We love it.
Yeah.
And over the past couple of weeks, I've been coming back to Whitley Bay, been in the shop today. I'm here again later this week, and it's just lovely being back and seeing people I haven't seen for a few weeks and having a chat and catching up, and it's lovely.
So you use both between stores, or does one do here, one do there, or an alternate, or?
We're not into a proper rhythm with it yet.
Right.
Basically, because I do the rota, so I kind of had rotated us both in Stack till the end of September, because I just didn't know how busy it was going to be and what it was going to be like, etc. And you only need one person. It is tiny in there. So we are both here a bit more, but we're never here together.
Right.
You'll get one of the...
So it's nice to be here. It's a rare occasion.
Or if we are here together, it's very much after the shops have shut and we're making decisions about new stock, or we're looking at what's in here or whatever, which is... I always quite like it, or rearranging. I do quite like rearranging the shops quite a lot. So
there's always a conversation to come home to, though, I suppose. If you don't see each other, there's
there is
an argument.
Shared notes are very useful.
Right. Okay.
Shared notes that you can update and do that.
Right.
Yes, there's a continual shared notes.
Yeah, but we do. There are times when we do. Just that's it. There's no business. Like we will watch the Bake Off.
Right.
Or as Doctor Who's back,
yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Nothing is being talked about the business. We are focused on that.
Right.
And you need time to do that, because
absolutely.
Love you a bit, working together. We wanted to do this. We wanted to work together. That's very much what we've chosen to do. Mm-hmm. But you need some time away from doing that, and
it's intensive.
It is intense, and now with social media, and you're kind of on demand to answer people's questions all the time, or to just check something or whatever, it can be quite hard to step away from the business. And like you were saying, you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter posts, etc. And
so you're not even at work yet, but you're at work.
Totally. And you get a lot of emails.
And it creates a very funny relationship with social media now, because obviously as any business, you've got to be on Facebook now, to reach, Twitter, Instagram, such a huge thing that when it comes to your own social media, you really can't be bothered with it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no respect to anyone else who's like posts that I probably haven't liked, that I should have done, looked at, but
I try and keep up with birthdays.
Right.
You just think, I'm so kind of been doing this all day, checking posts and doing Instagram stories, that I really just don't.
It feels like a job. Looking at Facebook feels like work. That's it.
Yes. And I think that is a shame, because I think there is probably some things that we do miss out on, but there's nothing you can do about that.
That's it. Well, Lucy and Paul, been lovely to talk to you. I do have one idea for a Christmas tree. If we could have a knitted brown ale for the star at the top of the tree or something like that. You never know. We've got to have stars on the top of the tree.
We can
or an Alan Shearer with his hand up.
Copyright Chris Ainsley.
There we go. You heard it here first,
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's a beautiful little store. I'll be in here all the way throughout Christmas. Mum and Dad, don't watch this video, because this is probably where your face will be coming from. But it's fantastic. It's lovely to see you doing so well. I haven't seen you in a couple of years.
It's amazing how much has changed since we saw you last.
Absolutely,
It's really nice to see you back.
Thank you very much. I'll be around, like I say, whether you guys will be or whether you'll be the next store or whatever. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back next week with another guest from either. Cheers, guys. All right.
Thank you.